Hi guys, and welcome to this video where I'm gonna be showing you a little bit about Apache Airflow. Hopefully this will be part of a series where we will start on this video on how to install this product, a brief introduction of this product, and then deep dive a little bit more into how it can be used in your production environment. So official website for Airflow is airflow.apache.org. So it's part of the Apache Foundation, and it is a platform created by community to programmatically alpha, schedule, and monitor workflows. Um, it has several principles. It's scalable, dynamic, extensible, elegant. It's written in Python, as a useful and very beautiful UI. Plenty of different types of integration also with cloud, such as GCP, AWS, and Azure. It's easy to use and it's open source. Um, we will be using Docker to install it, so make sure you have this. This is to ensure maximum compatibility with all of your different operating systems. So this will work on Windows, will work on OS X, and will also work on Linux. So let's get started. So in order for us to get started, as I said before, we will be using Docker and especially this Docker Airflow image by Puckle. I will share the GitHub link on the description of the video, but it's github.com/puckle/docker airflow. This is the description, and there is a little bit of a way to actual get started. What we will be using is Docker Compose, and I will be using this Docker Compose local executor YAML. So what I'm gonna do is gonna open it up. I'm gonna take it as raw. I'm gonna copy it. Then in my folder, I will do a new file. I'm gonna paste it and save it as Docker Compose. There we go. Uh, of course, it saved it as a txt file, which is not what I wanted. So I will resave it. You can go down and find YAML. Okay, I'm gonna save it. And now it changed it, of course. And this one we will just delete. Okay, so we have the following configuration for this Docker Compose. It kind of explicits two services, as you can see. The first one is Postgres, which will be used by Airflow itself to handle the task database and status. And the second one is the actual web server, which depends on the Postgres that we said before. The image that it's going to be pulling, it's Puckle Docker Airflow 1.10.8. And then it does have this mapping of the local DAGs folder to this USR local airflow DAGs. So in order for this to work, we're gonna have to create a new folder called DAGs. And then it's gonna launch the web server command and expose the port 8080 to this host. Now what we are gonna do is to kind of launch Docker Compose up. Before doing that, we're gonna switch this environment variable from N to Y so that it does actually load the examples. Then we're gonna open a new terminal, and I'm gonna say Docker Compose up. And it's gonna take a little while, so I'm gonna stop the video here and come back as soon as this download is finished. So once it's finishes downloading, you're gonna have a few commands into the terminal, as you can see. A few output from the Airflow application, as you can see. And it actually says that it's searching for files into the DAGs folder. So it's looking for directed acyclic graphs inside this folder. And it says there are 23 files in this folder. And this is because we selected load examples to Y. In future videos, we are going to show how to kind of create our own DAGs. And now we can see if Airflow correctly started or not. So I'm gonna open up Chrome. We're gonna go to localhost 8080. And as you can see, you have the Airflow UI loaded. Let's just browse a little bit into the UI and how it actually works. So you have the first tab where you can see all your tags and its status, their status. So if they are turned on or off, and you can select this tick here to switch them on. The name of the tags, the schedule, so how frequent they are scheduled, who is the owner, the recent tasks. So as you can read, this the status of tasks from all active Doug runs or from most recent runs. Then you have the last runs, so the execution date, which is blank right now since we didn't execute yet, nothing yet. Then you have the status of all previous DAG runs. And then some quick links like trigger DAG, see a tree view, graph view, and we will deep dive a little bit more into these kind of things. Then we have other useful kind of tabs that we will look into them later on, such as the logs, the jobs, and the diagrams. They also have some admin configuration, the users, the xcoms to pass values in between tasks, variables to share variables among tasks within the DAG. Then you have some quick link to the docs and some information about the Airflow version. So let's get started by deep diving a little bit into an example bash operator and understand a little bit how DAGs work. So this is a fairly straightforward example, and as you can see, it has this run. It's a directed acyclic graph, means there are no cycles, and there is a direction from one task to another. So these three go into this run after loop, and then you have this run this last and also run this. And from here you can see the different kind of tabs. You have the graph view, which is this one, and you can clearly see how the DAG is composed and what is the status of the task. So as you can see right now, you have this bash operator and a dummy operator, and they are actually in a no status kind of status. So what we're gonna do right now is to look how is it gonna work if we turn on the DAG and then we say trigger DAG. So we're gonna manually trigger the DAG, and as you can see on the top it says trigger the example bash operator. And in the meanwhile, on the tree view, you can see how this activity started. So a DAG run was started, and it's actually uh, you can see the starting time and the state which is currently running. And this is something Airflow does really well, the color scheme kind of matching on the right. So when you have a lot of runs of the same DAG, you can quickly see which one failed, which one are successful, which one are out for reschedule, and so on. So if we go to graph view, as you can see, the status of the task is evolving. So these ones already successfully run, as you can see. If you go, if you hover over the success kind of label, you can see how these are already done. This one isn't finished yet, but if we refresh, now it is also succeeded. If we go to the Gantt kind of view, this is fairly interesting. And as you can see, these three are actually running in parallel, and after that also run this gets triggered. So it's fairly interesting to see how these ones are actually working. If we keep going on the Gantt, you can see how eventually you have this run after loop kind of task that was run, and then you have this run this last. This view is actually very interesting because you can see exactly how much time the duration of each task within the DAG and how much it took. You can also go into the details of the DAG and see some information about it, and also the overall task duration. So in this case, you can see that this run this last is was quite quick. what we can also do is kind of try and see the fact that since this is a scheduled task, it's keep on running even though we didn't manually trigger it. So if you go back to the task duration now, it is evolving for the different runs. It's not just the one run, but it's different kind of runs over time. In the tree view, which is my favorite kind of view, you can clearly see that we have 3 runs and that all the tasks for this tag were successfully executed, and you can see the duration for each of these tasks. Another quite interesting feature is that you can go into code and quickly see the code for this tag. We will deep dive into how to build a tag and how the tags are structured in later videos, so I will not go into it too much right now. But overall, it's nice to see that you can quickly go into the code tab and see how everything is working. Another interesting thing is that you can go at any point in time at a specific task run and see what kind of logs were outputted for this particular task. So you can see that this task, which was already finished as we saw previously, outputted this kind of log. And you can also go to task instance details and see a lot of relevant information for that task. This is particularly interesting to see when something fails. And trust me, something is gonna fail eventually. And Airflow provides a really quick way to kind of see what failed and the reason why it failed, because you can deep dive into the logs of that particular task for that particular run in a jiffy, so in a very quickly manner. So I'm gonna wrap it up for this video. So it's basically we saw a little bit of how to run Airflow using Docker. We saw a little bit of the user interface and how we can navigate it a little bit. And this should be a series of videos, will be a series of videos. So in the next videos, we are gonna see other examples to kind of understand how Airflow can help us in the kind of ETL kind of tasks and batch processing. And also we are gonna deep dive a little bit more on the code side to actually build DAG. Thanks for watching and have a good day.